Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Take 5. It is Saturday, June 11th, 2011. We're in Matthew 24, verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. From the fig tree learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts out its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see all these things, you know that he is near, at the very gates. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and one left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one left. Therefore stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom his master has set over his household to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that wicked servant says to himself, my master is delayed, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces, and put him with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, I read that lengthy passage because the idea there is when the judgment will come when we don't expect it. And whether it's talking about the judgment of the Roman armies in AD 70 or Christ's return to earth, it's a judgment. And we need to always be ready. Now, this last part where he's talking about beating the servants and drinking with the drunkards, I think was directly is referring to what the Jews did to the prophets. But nevertheless, we could do the same thing if we don't appreciate those people who are trying to teach us the Word of God, or we ignore them, or if we persecute them. The Lord's going to come, and it's not going to go well for us. So the best thing we can do is just be close to God, be obedient to God all the time. Then it won't matter when Judgment Day is, and that's the point. Just always be ready. And we're going to look at the next parable we look at tomorrow, Matthew 25, when we start that. Parable of the 10 virgins is the idea that you should always be ready for when the Lord's going to come. Alright, now I admit it, I'm not a prophecy expert, so I'm not exactly sure whether that last passage we read refers to AD 70, the destruction of Jerusalem by Rome, or Jesus is coming back to earth. So I'm not real sure, but the point I am making is we need to be ready. They needed to be ready, and most of them weren't. We need to be ready when the Lord comes back. Alright? We don't know when He's coming. So, be ready. See you tomorrow, next edition of Take 5.